All right. Looks like we are live, I believe. All right, what's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and as anticipated, as planned, in a real shocking move, Wizards of the Coast released. By the way, can we talk about how they are really sticking to doing their Unearthed Arcana and being on point with this and like having it come out basically once a month? Also, I should probably remember to turn on the chat for everybody so you guys can see what's going on. So I'm just gonna make sure my my chat bot's not up. Let me go ahead and do that real quick while we get started here. We'll let people roll in. But I gotta say, I was not expecting this. And part of me is thinking, okay, so Chris and Jeremy are gone now. Now, obviously, I imagine this wasn't whipped up in a month, but maybe it was. And we knew for the longest time, and I don't know whose design philosophy it was, to like not release new level 1 to 20 classes unless it was like required by a setting. That was a conversation I had with Jeremy Crawford back in 2019, which is like the Eberron necessitated the Artificer. So we got the Artificer with Eberron. Now, obviously, they've desynced it from Eberron, but then they resynced it with Eberron with this upcoming release. So the thought process, presumably during that time period, would have been you wouldn't get a psionic subclass unless we were getting something like Baby Dark Sun, because that's like where a lot of the psionic stuff was based. And they likely will never do Dark Sun in 2024 D&D or D&D 5e at all, given the potential problematic nature of some of the stuff going on with Dark Sun. But what other situation could there be? So it seemed like they'd pretty much given up, in my opinion, on psionics as a class in favor of psionics as subclasses. And if you think about it, we've seen that with a handful of things with like the Psi Knight and the Soul Knife and the Aberrant Sorcerer and all these things, right? We've seen them add psionic subclasses to existing classes. And that is basically what I thought they were going to do. They tried to do the Mystic and some psionic stuff in a variety of Unearthed Arcana back in the day, and they were wonky crazy. I don't know if anybody ever actually played with any of those at a table. Let me tell you, the Mystic could basically just do anything that anybody wanted. It could just do everything. So yeah, Mystics were a little nuts. But long story short, I thought they'd given up on psionics entirely. And here we now see the Scion makes a return with a full level 1 to 20 class, multiple subclasses, feats, and spells, all included in this particular Unearthed Arcana. So we're going to go dive into that here in just a second. But my question is, do we think that because Jeremy and Chris are like gone, that the new team's just like, what the hell? Like, we got nobody on high telling us not to do it. Let's do it. And that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Like maybe that was the thought process behind it. They're like, hey, cats, away the mice will play kind of situation. I don't know. But we're going to go ahead and dive into the Scion here. I'll remind you how to get to it if you don't know. So let's go ahead and jump over here. And we will turn on our chat. So if you go to D&D Beyond, you're going to want to go to Sources, Unearthed Arcana. You'll see it was updated today. If you click on the Scion, there's a video here, and you'll scroll down to click Download PDF, and this gets you to the actual PDF of the Scion itself. Let's see. Yeah, I definitely think Crawford was locked in on psionic subclasses. He made a big deal about all 4 being in the PHB. Yeah, well, that is the benefit. Oh, where'd my camera go? Was that my camera? There it is. That's the benefit of having new people in the role, right? Potentially, right? So now if we have new people that we might be getting more classes than we ever have before, potentially. We might be getting all of the things that we've been clamoring and crying for years that we've never gotten. Who knows? Maybe with new people kind of helming the ship, we might get all those things. I don't know. We'll have to see. It could potentially usher in an entirely new wave of interest in D&D 5e, especially 2024, if new stuff is rolled out like this. So let's go ahead and dive into what the Scion is. Hopefully you guys can see this. I tried to zoom in a little bit. I got a couple complaints lately that people were saying I was too zoomed out on stuff. So what is a Scion? Scions are spellcasters who use innate mental powers to gain extraordinary abilities and unleash the magic of their minds. Scions and their magic, sometimes called psionics, trace their history back to the first edition Player's Handbook Appendix, and a psionics class first appeared in the Complete Psionics Handbook in 1991. They've taken numerous forms in D&D, from alternative magic systems to options that dovetail into other rules in D&D. In 5th edition, psionic power is synonymous with magic, and the magic of the mind flavors numerous spells, monsters, and subclasses like the Psi Warrior Fighter and the Aberrant Sorcery Sorcerer. In this edition, the Scion is a spellcaster who interfaces with magic and spellcasting similarly to the other classes. Okay. Do gotta say, going into this, I love that they're working on psionics and adding new subclasses, although the approach feels rushed late. Well, we'll see. Okay. So it is a intelligence-based class. It is a D6 hit die. It gets proficiencies in intelligence and wisdom saving throws, 2 skill proficiencies in Arcana, Insight, Intimidation, Investigation, Medicine, Perception, Persuasion, proficiency in simple weapons. Okay, and here is our class table. So we are getting, in fact, spell slots based on how this is going all the way up, traditional spell slots all the way up to level 20. We are getting, looks like, standard progression ability scores, nothing crazy in there. And then we have an energy die, a number of dice, and then we obviously have cantrips, right? So previously, older folks and fans of psionics from older editions will know we used to have psi points was the main crux of how this worked. And you'd have, like, sometimes not gonna say unmanageable amounts of psi points, but you could have in the hundreds, maybe even higher than that, psi points as you leveled up. And basically, the way psi points worked was they were almost a way to kind of, if you remember, spell points from the one of the alternative rules from the 2014 DMG. They were a similar concept to that. You had a series of points, and you could expend X number of points to do X number of different things. But this is giving us in favor of points. Looks like an energy die that scales upwards to a d12, and then a number of dice that scales up to a total of 12. If you think about all the psionic subclasses that we've received so far, they usually have, I think, I don't know if the die, I remember if it's static or if it changes, but the number is also a finite number. So let's go ahead and see. We have spellcasting. You learn how to channel magic through your mind. 2 Scion cantrips, Minor Illusion and Telekinetic Fling are recommended. When you gain a Scion level, you can replace one of your cantrips from this feature with another one of your choice. Okay, so every level you can swap a cantrip. When you reach 10 and 14, you learn another Scion cantrip. Interesting, you don't learn another cantrips till way later, till 10 and 14. We have our spell slots here, and you have your number of spells or slots you can prepare. You gain all expended spell slots when you finish your long rest. You prepare the list of level 1 plus spells that are available to you to cast from this feature. Number of spells on your list as you gain Scion levels. Blah, 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 blah. Changing your prepared spells. Whenever you gain a Scion level, okay, so it's once per level to swap out spells. It's intelligence based. When you cast a Scion spell that doesn't require a verbal or material component, when you cast a Scion spell, that spell doesn't require a verbal or material component, even if the spell includes V or M in the components entry, except material components that are consumed by the spell or have a cost specified in the spell. Interesting that we still have to do somatic components for mind-based spells. I thought that would have probably been removed too. I wonder if that's an oversight. Because that would make sense that that's just like a function of the Scion, is that they can ignore that because it's all, mind magic. But ignoring material components was a choice too. I might as well just give them all 3, in my opinion, so they're basically permanently subtle spelled. But that's what everybody wants. That's the kind of the concept of doing psionics, is you're not showcasing what you're doing because it's all mind-based. Okay. Let's look into psionic power, level 1. Okay. You get psionic energy dice. Your psion level determines the die size and then the number of psionic energy dice you have. It's used to enhance and fuel certain psion features. You start with 2 such features: telekinetic propel and telepathic connection. Each is detailed below. Some of your powers expend your psionic energy dice as specified, and you can't use them. Power if it requires you to use dice and you don't have any. You regain 1 expended psionic energy die when you finish a short rest and get them all back on a long rest. Some features that use the die force them to make a saving throw. It's intelligence based. Okay. So we get these back. We get 1 back on a short rest. We get them all back on a long rest. Telekinetic propel. As a bonus action, choose 1 large or smaller creature other than you that you can see within 30 feet of yourself, and then roll 1 psionic energy die, which starts off at a d6 and scales up to a d12. The target must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed or pulled a number of feet straight away from you, equal to 5 times the number rolled. The die is expended only if the target fails the saving throw. Okay, so it's got a little bit of failure prevention built in, that you don't spend the die even if the target succeeds on the saving throw. And it is a bonus action. This is kind of like a boosted up version of the telekinetic shove you can get from I think it's the telekinetic feat that gives you like the 5-foot shove. So, I mean, I know this doesn't sound like a lot, but like when you're at a higher level, let's say you are at the level where it's a D10, right? And you roll a 10, just a casual 50-foot shove as a bonus action, either a 50-foot pull or a 50-foot shove. That's not bad. And telepathic connection, you have telepathy with a range of 5 feet. As a bonus action, 5 feet is kind of short, but all right. As a bonus action, you can expend 1 psion energy die and roll it. For a number of minutes equal to your psion level, the range of your telepathy increases by a number of feet equal to 10 times the number rolled. All right, so you get a freebie local-based telepathy, and then you basically can increase it to a minimum of 10 feet based on what you roll on the die. Okay. Subtle telekinesis at level 1. You know the Mage Hand cantrip. You can cast it without somatic components and make it spectral, make it invisible. Okay. So free component, free invisible Mage Hand. It's a nice little quality of life. Psionic discipline at level 2. You further learn psionic techniques that are fueled by your psionic energy dice. You gain 2 disciplines of your choice, such as expanded awareness and id insinuation. Disciplines are described in the psionic disciplines options section later in this description. You can only use 1 discipline each turn, and only once per turn unless otherwise noted. Whenever you gain a psion level, you can replace. So these are basically invocations. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, this essentially sounds like it's Eldritch invocations, more or less. Well, again, 10 feet is if you roll a 1 on the telepathic connection die. You could obviously roll higher and then increase it by that, but 10 times the number rolled. Okay, so we'll see what these are. You get 2 at level 2, and then 2 more options at 10, and then 2 more at 17, so a total of 6. Psionic modes at level 2. As a bonus action, choose one of the following modes, granting the benefit for a minute until you use this feature again. Attack mode. Damage from your weapon attacks, psion spells, and psion features ignore resistance to psychic damage. In addition, when you roll damage for a spell, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to reroll a number of damage dice up to your intelligence modifier. You must use the new rolls. Or defensive mode, you get resistance to psychic damage. In addition, when you fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma save, you can take a reaction to expend a psionic energy die, roll the die, and add it to the number failed, potentially turning a failure into a success. You can use this feature twice per long rest. Okay, so this is almost like a sorcerer's innate sorcery ability. So we have almost like invocations. We have almost like innate sorcery. Innate sorcery is just kind of a static. You turn it on, and then you have that for a minute. This, you get the opportunity to choose, do I want to go Elemental Adept Psychic, basically. And then also be able to have, not Empowered Spell. Maybe it is Empowered Spell, the one where you get to reroll the damage dice. Or Defense Mode, where I get resistance to psychic damage and an opportunity to possibly bump up a Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma save. This lasts for a minute, or and I get 2 per long rest. All right, subclasses at level 3, ability score improvements as normal. Psionic Restoration at level 5. Okay. When you finish a short rest, you can regain expended psionic energy dice, but no more than a number equal to half your number of dice, rounded down. Once you use this feature, you can't do it again until you finish a long rest. This is similar to what we've seen with things like the Sorcerer's kind of restoration for the Sorcerer, as well as the, oh god, whatever it's called for the Wizard, where you read your spell book and you get some spell slots back, additional amount on a short rest. So this only gives you half your total number of psionic energy dice back. Arcane Recovery. Thank you, chat. Yeah, so I like that this is kind of becoming a thing, like that this is we're seeing this appear on multiple classes. Psionic Surge. Oh boy, getting some Marvel rivals right there. Psionic Surge. Let's see. The distance roll for telepathy is silly. It should be set number like 300 feet. Yeah, I agree. The expenditure of the die is kind of wild, but okay. Psionic Surge. When you roll initiative, you can expend one of your hit point dice and regain 1 expended use of psionic modes. Oh boy. Okay. This is gonna be, you got to be a little. There's a lot of currency to track, a lot of mechanics to track, so I could see this kind of turning off some newer players. But I'm not going to say that it's against. It's you need to be an advanced player to play it. You just need to read your character sheet. You're gonna have a lot of tools in your toolbox. You're gonna need to read all those tools. Is all I'm saying. When you roll initiative, you can expend one of your hit point dice and regain 1 expended use of psionic modes. Reminder, you only get 2 of those per long rest. In addition, after you roll 1 or more psionic energy dice, you can expend 1 of your hit dice and treat any roll of a 1, 2, or 3 on those psionic energy dice as a 4. Wow. Wow. That's the most powerful version of something like that we've seen. To treat a 1, 2, 3, or 4, or sorry, 1, 2, or 3 as a 4 on the die. I mean, at level 7, I think you're rocking D8s, so you're basically guaranteeing yourself half of the roll, regardless. That's pretty nuts. Okay, so yeah, if we are rolling initiative and we don't have any psionic modes left, which reminder, psionic modes is the attack or defense mode, we can expend a hit die to get 1 back. And then anytime we roll psionic energy dice in any form, we can blow a hit die to, basically give us a little bit of low roll prevention there. Epic Boon at level 19. And then let's see what their capstone is. Did they get capstone right? Once per turn, when you expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it for a psion feature or psionic discipline, you can expend 2 of your hit point dice to roll 2 additional psionic energy dice and add the numbers rolled to the total. Is this worthy of level 20? I have to already be expending a psionic energy die. Then I need to blow 2 of my hit dice, not getting any healing for it, by the way, just blowing the hit die, to then allow 2 additional psionic energy die to be added to the roll. That's not a level 20 ability. I don't like that at all. It's not a good capstone. It's unique, but it's not. I think your option, yeah, I agree. I don't think you get enough dice to warrant that you're going to spend 3 on a turn. You're already spending at least 1 to then spend 3. Maybe the opportunity would be similar to, what is it? The Swords Bard had it. The Battlemaster Fighter has it. And those are class features, not capstones, but they had the opportunity to, like, you can anytime, yeah, like on your turn, you could essentially use a maneuver every turn, but you just spend a D8 instead of spending your superiority die. Maybe something similar to that, where you just like you roll a D8 for your, you're not expending the psionic energy die, you're just rolling a D8. So obviously, at higher levels, you could swing and shoot for the D12 to maybe get more, but that at least gives you, like, you could just do it once, kind of like a freebie, something like that. That I think would help. Um, oh, okay. Okay. So you're not expending psionic energy dice, you're expending your hit dice to roll additional psionic energy dice. Okay. So we'll read that one more time. When you expend one psionic energy die and roll it, you can expend 2 of your hit die to roll 2 additional psionic energy dice and add them to the roll. I could actually see it being interpreted both ways. I think the intention is that we're essentially swapping hit dice for psionic energy dice, but we have to have the qualifier that we're already expending a psionic energy die first to then trigger that. So maybe you just make that, right? Like, anytime you need to roll a psionic energy die, you could roll your hit die in place of it or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, it could use a little clarification. It also needs a boost, because I don't feel like that's nowhere near on par with the Bard's twin spell power word kill, or the Barbarians, +4 to 2 stats, or the Monks +4 to 2 stats. It needs some work. All right. Let's move into the psionic discipline options. These are basically, you get these at level 2. They're kind of like invocations for a warlock. So biofeedback. When you cast a psion spell from the necromancy or transmutation school, you can expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it. You gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Okay. It's a little temp HP. Destructive thoughts. When you cast a psion spell from the conjuration or evocation school on a creature you can see succeeds on a saving throw, you can expend a psionic energy die and roll it. The creature takes psychic damage equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Now that's pretty nice, because you could already be hitting them with an evocation spell looking to do damage, and then they succeed on the saving throw, so the damage total kind of maybe not as good as you wanted. Well, let's just go ahead and tack on psionic energy die plus intelligence modifier with an extra damage. So, excuse me, sort of softens the blow of the successful saving throw. Devilish Tongue. When you take the influence action, you can spend 1 psionic energy die, roll it, and add the number rolled to the ability check. Ego Whip. When a creature provokes an attack of opportunity from you by leaving your reach, you can take a reaction to roll a psionic energy die and force the creature to make an intelligence save. On a failure, its speed is reduced by 10 feet, and it subtracts the number rolled from the next damage roll it makes before the end of its next turn. The die is expended only if the target fails the saving throw. Nice again for the fail protection there, but also you as the DM or you as the player need to remember that they have to subtract that number from the next damage roll that they make, because that could just get easily lost in the shuffle. Expanded awareness. When you take the search action, you can expend a psionic energy die roll and add it to the ability check. Insinuation. When you cast an enchantment or illusion spell, you can expend 2 psionic energy dice and roll 1 psionic energy die. One target of the spell you can see subtracts the number rolled from its saving throw against the spell. Okay. Yeah. I'm not loving that either. Inerrant aim. When you make an attack roll against a creature and miss, you can roll your psionic energy die and add the number rolled to the attack roll, potentially turning a miss into a hit. If the hit causes the attack, if this causes the attack to hit, the die is expended. So it's not expended if it misses. Okay, that one's not bad. Psionic Backlash. Immediately after a creature you can see hits you with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die. Roll 2 psionic. I don't love this. This terminology just is clunky to me. When you're hit with an attack, you can take a reaction to expend a psionic energy die. Then roll 2 psionic energy dice. I don't love the way that reads, but subtract the number rolled from the die on the die from the total. In addition, you can force the attacker to make a wisdom saving throw. On a failure, it takes psychic damage equal to the amount rolled on the 2 psionic energy dice. Psionic Guards. At the start of each of your turn, you can expend 1 psionic energy die. Till the end of your next turn, you have immunity to the Charmed and Frightened condition and advantage on intelligence saving throws. If you are Charmed or Frightened when you use this discipline, it ends, which is nice. It's not suppressed, it ends. When you use Psionic Guards, you can also use a different one. So that kind of functions almost. Oh, maybe it's more like meta magic, actually, than invocations. Actually, now that I think about it, it's more like meta magic. All right, Swift Precognition. When you cast a Scion spell from the Abjuration or Divination school with a casting time of an action, you can expend a number of psionic energy dice to change the casting time for this casting. So you're just expending these dice to just change it to a bonus action. It is basically like meta magic. It's quicken spell. And then Tactical Mind. When you take the study action, you can expend a psionic energy die, roll it, and add the number rolled to the ability check. Okay. Then we get into the spell list. Let's skip the cantrips. There's not too much. Let's look at the spells. All right. Dissonant Whispers. I expected that. Mage Armor. Sleep. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Okay. Nothing crazy. I'm not seeing Shield. Shield would be a nice one to have on here. All right. Second level. Crown of Madness. Heat Metal, Hold Person, Invisibility, all solid. Mind Spike, Mirror Image, Phantasmal Force, all good. Silence and Shatter, Suggestion. Okay, second level spells, pretty solid. Overall, you got a good choice there. All right, third level. Animate Dead, Bestow Curse, Dispel Magic. We'll have to see what the new spells are. I'm not crazy about the third level spells, but it's all right. Level 4, Banishment, Arcane Eye. Really, you have just about the best things you could have for the fourth level spell list. All right, fifth level. Animate Objects, Awaken, Hold Monster, Legend Lore, Various Telepathic Bond, Modify Memory, Synaptic Static. All right, that's not too bad. 6. Disintegrate, solid. Mass Suggestion. All right, you got the good stuff there. 7. Power Word Fortify is phenomenal. Reverse Gravity. Level 8, you've got Befuddlement, Glibness, Power Word Stun. And then 9, we've got a bunch of good ones here. All right. Then we're going to move into the subclasses. I think there's 3. There might be 4. So first up is the Metamorph. You're going to go ahead and get, each one's going to grant you, looks like, extra spells. So we have Alter Self, Cure Wounds, Inflict Wounds, Lesser Restoration, Aura Vitality, Haste, Polymorph, Stone Skin, Contagion, Mass Cure Wounds. So we're definitely getting some healing vibes from this one. All right, Organic Weapons. Whenever you take the attack action or make an opportunity attack, you can reform your free hand into one of the following organic weapons: Bone Blade, Flesh Maul, or Viscera Launcher. You immediately, your limb immediately returns to its previous form after it's over. Whenever you attack with this weapon, use your intelligence modifier instead of strength or dex, and you can cause it to deal psychic damage. Okay, Bone Blade. Blade made of bone springs from your forearm. Simple melee weapon. Finesse, so it means sneak attack would work on it. Does a d8 piercing damage. You have advantage on the attack roll you make with the blade if at least one of your allies is within 5 feet of the target and the ally doesn't have. So basically, it's got finesse, piercing, and then it grants itself pack tactics almost. That multi-class with a rogue would be wild. Flesh Maul. All right, Maul counts as a simple melee weapon, does d10 bludgeoning damage. A creature hit by this has disadvantage on the next strength or constitution save it makes before the start of its next turn. Or Viscera Launcher, your hand transformed into a crossbow. Simple range weapon with a range of 30-90, does the d6 acid damage on a hit. Once on each of your turns, when a creature is hit with an attack roll using the launcher, you can deal an extra d6 acid damage to the target. Then we have Extend Limbs. It's a bonus action. You can expend 1 psionic energy die. For the next minute, you gain the following benefits. Reach increases by 5 feet. Speed increases by 5 feet. When you cast a spell that has a range of touch and a casting time of an action, you can make that spell's range 10 feet. Okay. Extra attack. In addition, you can cast one of your psionic cantrips in place of one of your attacks. Okay, that's pretty nuts. Quickened Healing. When you cast Cure Wounds, you can expend 2 psionic energy die to change the casting time to a bonus action for this casting. When you do, you can roll 1 psionic energy die and add the number. Okay, so you could, they're better, almost better healing in some instances than clerics. You get Cure Wounds as a bonus action. And you could make it a range if you spend Extended Limbs. You can make your Quickened Cure Wounds out to 10 feet. That is a highlighted message. Okay. Level 10, Mutable Form. When you use Extend Limbs, which is the level 3 feature, the duration increases to 10 minutes and you gain one of the following benefits of your choice. Stony Epidermis, advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration, and then choose Acid, Bludgeoning, Cold, Fire, Lightning, Piercing, Poison, Slashing, or Thunder. You have resistance to that. Superior Stride. While you aren't wearing armor, you can take the dash action as a bonus action and have a climb speed and swim speed equal to your speed. Or Unnatural Flexibility. You get a +2 bonus to AC. You can move through any space as narrow as an inch. Okay. And lastly, Life Bending Weapons. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with an organic weapon, you can expend a psionic energy die and roll it. Each creature of your choice in a 10-foot emanation originating from you regains hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Additionally, one creature of your choice in that area takes necrotic damage equal to the number rolled. Yeah, so you just got like some AoE healing and some damage here, which is pretty nice. Okay, that was what's that called? The Metamorph. We have, looks like Psi Warper, Psykinetic, and Telepath. Okay. Psi Warper. Expeditious Retreat, Featherfall, Misty Step, Shatter, Blink, Haste, Banishment, Dimension Door, Steel Wind Strike, Teleportation Sword. This looks like to be our teleporty type. Level 3 Teleportation. You can cast Misty Step without spending a spell slot. You must finish a long rest before you can do so again. You can also restore 1 use by expending a psionic energy die. Warp Propel. When a target fails its saving throw against your telekinetic propel, which is again one of your class features, instead of pushing it, you can teleport the target to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of you that is horizontal to you. Level 6, Warp Space. When you cast Shatter, you can expend a psionic energy die to modify the spell so the radius becomes 20 feet, doubling its radius effectively. In addition, creatures that fail the saving throw against the spell are pulled straight towards the center of the sphere, ending in an unoccupied space as close to the center of the sphere as possible. So you get a little bit of a shatter, bit of damage, and then also a CC pull. Teleport or combat. Immediately after you cast Misty Step, you can cast one of your Psion cantrips that has a casting time of an action as part of the same bonus action. That's pretty wild. To teleport and then to get it to switch a cantrip to a bonus action to be able to utilize it as well. That's pretty crazy. Duplicitous Target. When a creature you can see makes an attack roll against you, you can make a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die and choose a willing creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. That doesn't have to have the incapacitated condition. You and the willing creature teleport, swapping places with each other. The creature becomes the target of the attack roll. That's kind of crazy too. Take a reaction to expend a die, choose a willing creature, so you're basically swapping damage there. And then lastly, Mass Teleportation. As a magic action, you can expend 4 psionic energy dice and choose huge or smaller creatures within 30 feet of you, up to a number equal to your intelligence modifier. Each of those chosen creatures is teleported to an unoccupied space you can see within 150 feet of you. An all-milling creature that succeeds on the wisdom saving throw against your spell is unaffected, just like a mass teleportation. Yeah, just get them out of there. Okay. Let me see if I can get my desk to stand up. Feeling I'm in a standing desk kind of mood right now. Let's see. Make sure we're not breaking anything. Okay. There we go. Whew. Yeah. I don't know. Relaxing a little too much, getting a little sleepy sitting down there. I'm gonna pop open this door too. It's getting hot in here. All right. Let's keep going. All right. Psi Warper. We did that already. Psykinetic. Cloud of Daggers, Levitate, Shield, Thunderwave. Slow, Telekinetic Crush, which is included here. Odaluk's Resilience Sphere, Stone Shape, Telekinesis, and Wall of Force. That's a solid set of spells. You got Shield in there. Wall of Force. Telekinetic Techniques. When you use your Telekinetic Propel, you can impose one of the following effects on the target. Either boost, increase its speed by 50 feet. I never even thought about using it as a benefit to an ally to move them. Increase their speed by 10 feet. The target can't make opportunity attacks until the start of its next turn. Or if it fails a saving throw, it takes force damage equal to a roll of your psionic energy die. Empowered attack mode. While in attack mode, you gain a fly speed equal to 60 feet and can hover. And whenever you cast a Psion spell, you add your intelligence modifier to one of the damage rolls. Rebounding field. When you cast Shield in response to being hit by an attack and cause the triggering attack to miss, you can expend one psionic energy dice to launch the force back at the attacker. The attacker makes a dexterity saving throw. Roll 2 psionic energy dice. On a failed save, the attacker takes force damage equal to the amount rolled, and you gain temporary hit points equal to that amount. Okay. That's actually like a super shield. That's actually pretty wild. All right. Enhanced telekinetic crush. This is interesting because now we're seeing a subclass have specific features tied to specific spells granted by it. It's not like we haven't seen this before, but we're seeing a lot of it here. So like we'd seen like I think the War Cleric in 2024 has the modified version of either Spiritual Weapon or Shield of Faith. Well, Telekinetic Crush is a new 3rd level spell, I believe. It says when you cast Telekinetic Crush, you can spend 1 psionic energy die to modify the spell so that whether a creature fails or succeeds, its speed will be halved. That's kind of nice as well. And then Heightened Telekinesis. When you cast Telekinesis, you can expend 4 psionic energy dice to modify the spell so that it doesn't require concentration, but it cuts the duration down to a minute, and you can target gargantuan creatures and objects. So that makes your telekinesis very strong. Not concentration, and you can get gargantuan creatures. That's wild. All right, lastly, here we have the Telepath, final subclass. We get Bane, Command, Detect Thoughts, Mind Spike, Counterspell, Speak with Plants, Compulsion, Confusion, Awaken, Modify Memory. Okay. Mind Infiltrator. When you cast Detect Thoughts, see there's more of these tied to the specific spells. When you cast Detect Thoughts, you can expend 2 psionic energy dice to modify the spell so that the spell doesn't require spell components or concentration, and the target doesn't know you are probing in its mind if it fails the wisdom save. I mean, you're a mind infiltrator then. You're really hacking your way into people's minds at that point. Telepathic hub. You have telepathy with a range of 10 feet. When you expend a psionic energy die as part of the telepathic communication or connection to increase the range of your telepathy. For the duration of the effect, you can simultaneously contact a number of creatures equal to 1 plus the number rolled. May open up the party line. Level 6 empowered defense mode. While your defense mode is active, whenever you fail, make a saving throw, you'll just get like a bless on your saving throws only at a d4. In addition, while your defense mode is active, you can extend this benefit to creatures you are telepathically connected to. So you can long range give everybody a d4 to their saving throws as long as you're connected via telepathic connection. And again, telepathic hub lets you link to more than one people or more than one person. So that's pretty wild. All right. Potent thoughts, intelligence modifier to your cantrips. That's fine. Telepathic bolstering. You have telepathy out to 30 feet. When you or a creature you can see within range of your telepathy fails an ability check or misses with an attack roll, you can use a reaction to expend a die, roll it, and add the number rolled to the d20, potentially turning a failed check into a success or a miss into a hit. Okay, so yeah, working not necessarily when you or a creature. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty cool. To turn the check or attack roll into a hit. And lastly, Scramble Minds. When you cast Confusion, you can expend your psionic energy dice to modify the spell so that the radius of the spell's sphere becomes 30 feet. In addition, creatures under the effect of the spell roll 2d10s, and you choose which roll determines their behavior. Again, this is really interesting to see so many subclass features tied into like altering the way this subclass casts a specific spell. That's pretty nuts. Also, I want to point out empowered defense mode. That's in addition to Bless, right? If you have a cleric and they've cast Bless, you want to get real nuts. If you have a cleric, a peace domain cleric who's done emboldening bond and bless, that would stack with empowered defense mode, and you'd be rolling potentially 3d4 additional to a saving throw, which is kind of wild. So that's kind of nuts. Adjust this microphone up a little bit because we're standing here. Hang on one sec. And there we go. Yeah, plus your psionic energy die if you fail. Yeah, these are very strong. As we've discussed, it's essentially a warlock, a wizard with meta magic, but also with superiority dice. It's kind of wild. I'm hoping, because we don't know of a book that this would be coming in, right? We know that the Faerunian subclasses are coming in the Faerun book later in the year. We know that the Artificer is coming in the Eberron book. There is that unreleased October book, but I'm hoping that the Scion is like, let's just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And like it's a scatter shot, like real early on Unearthed Arcana for 2024, where we're just taking shots in the dark and throwing a lot of stuff out there and hoping we have a winner on one of these. And then like we'll parse down true playtest, right? Throw a whole bunch of stuff out there, and then based on how well things do, we'll adjust up or down. I hope that's what we're at. That's my goal, my thoughts, right? If it was me, is like let's just pull the interest, and then like, okay, we threw a lot of stuff. It was real heavy. Let's cull some of that back, even it out a little bit. If they were doing a player's handbook too, that would be wild. So, yeah. So, looking just like that was it. So let's take a look at the subclasses. Just go over them one more time. Not go over them in like full detail, but just talk about which ones we like. So Metamorph is really interesting because it's an organic weapon shaper, right? And it has some interesting abilities, right? It has extra attack. It has the ability to cast Cure Wounds as a bonus action with additional healing on it, and can do it at range, potentially even more range. You got some good defensive options there for yourself. And yeah, you basically have an aura around you. When you hit somebody with your weapon, you can expend a die and then basically do some AoE healing. And then also damage, so like a Wither and Bloom off of a hit. Warper has a lot of movement control capability, things like knocking people further out of the way than they normally could. Shatter does a pull effect. Misty Step lets you also do spells from it right after you do it as part of the same action. Swap places, and then the mass teleportation. Psykinetic, again, has things like Shield, Wall of Force. Has the opportunity when they're doing the propel to cut movements or to increase movement speed. Remove opportunity attacks or deal damage. You get just a flat out fly speed and additional damage on your spells. Your shield does retributive damage now when you cast shield. Um, Telekinetic Crush reduces their speed no matter what. And telekinesis can become non-concentration. And then Telepath has ability to cast Detect Thoughts without concentration and have people not even know you were probing around. Let's see. Telepathic Hub opens up the party line. Potent Thoughts gives you the extra damage to cantrips. Empowered Defense Mode shares that D4 around to anybody you're connected with. And then Scramble Minds is, your altered confusion, essentially. Hey, Wizards, Marshal Jack of all trades class, please. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Let's see. Fighter plus Metamorph. Oh, Fighter 1 plus Metamorph X for armor plus shield seems great. Wish the psionic weapons had masteries, though. Well, who knows? Maybe they will if we scroll down a little bit. All right, so there are spells. Some of these are updated spells that existed back in 2014 that have been brought forward and updated into 2024 style. Some of them are brand new. Intellect Fortress, for example, I believe is one that existed previously and has been updated or maybe just carried over. Let's see. Artificer, Bard, Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. Interesting that we're now seeing Artificer appear in those lists now because we know it's coming. For the duration, one willing creature you can see has resistance to psychic damage and advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Additional upcasts get you more targets. Psychic Scream, the 9th level ability or spell. Let's go ahead and just pull up D&D Beyond because I want to see what the difference is for Psychic Scream. So I always liked it because it made people's heads explode. Okay. All right. Creatures of intelligence 2 or lower, nothing happens. 90-foot range, make an intelligence saving throw. On a failure, the target takes 14d6 damage and has the stunned condition. On a successful save, they take half as much damage. If they're reduced to 0 hit points, their head explodes. At the end of each of its turns, the stunned target repeats the save, ending the condition on itself on a success. Okay. 14d6 and stunned. Okay, I don't actually think they changed much of anything at all to Psychic Scream. It's pretty much the same. All right, Rowlathim's Psychic Lance. It says this spell has more guidance around using a creature's name to target it. Yeah, that was always a little wonky, so let's read. You unleash a shimmering lance of psychic power from your forehead. Alternatively, you can utter a creature's name. A pseudonym, title, or nickname does not work. If the named target is within 120-foot range, it becomes the spell's target, even if you can't see it. If the named target isn't within range or you use an invalid name, the lance dissipates without effect. The target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failure, take 76 psychic damage and have the incapacitated condition until the start of your next turn. On a successful save, take half damage. If you upcast, the damage goes up by a d6 for each one above 4. There's a little bit of clarification here. I like it. It makes it a little easier to understand. All right, Summon Astral Entity. This is a new one. So this is a summoning spell. You call forth the spirit of a psionic entity. It lasts for an hour. You choose crystal, ectoplasmic, or ghostly. Let's take a look. All right, here's the stat block. AC is 11 plus the spell's level plus 2 if you're in crystal form. HP is 40 plus 10 for each level above 3. 30-foot fly speed if you're a ghost. Incorporeal passage. If you're ectoplasm or a ghost, you can squeeze through spaces and move through other creatures as if they're difficult terrain. Multi-attack. Number of attacks equal to half the spell's level rounded down. Crystal Strike for the crystal form does a d10 plus 3 plus the spell's level's piercing damage. Ectoplasmic Splash, d6 plus the spell's level psychic damage. Each creature in a 5-foot radius originating from and including the target has a speed reduced by 5 feet. And Ephemeral Ray for our Ghost. Just longer range here. 120-foot range. D8 +3 plus the spell's level. If you are a crystal form, you get the reactionary Shard Swarm. Triggers hit by a melee attack. Response, the shard halves the damage rounded out it takes from the attack. The spirit can then teleport up to an unoccupied space it can see within 30 feet. That's a great reaction to just cut damage and teleport. Pretty huge. All right, did Tasha's Mind Whip get any major updates? Yeah. The spell now restricts only the target's ability to make opportunity attacks on a failed saving throw. Okay, let's look. Where is that? Tasha's Mind Whip. Level 2. Target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failure, it takes 3d6 psychic damage and can't make opportunity attacks until the end of its next turn. Moreover, on its next turn, it can take either an action or a bonus action, not both. On a successful save, it's half damage only. Okay, cleaned that up a little bit. Now, this is one of the things I'm most excited about here is Telekinetic Crush. We played KOTOR, you know what I'm talking about. All right. Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock. You create a field of crushing telekinetic force in a 30-foot cube. Not a small cube. 120 feet range, too. Each creature in that area must make a strength save. On a failure, they're going to take 5d6 force damage and have the prone condition. A successful save, take half damage. So, yeah, basically just force crush people on a 30-foot cube with a strength save. Telekinetic Fling is our new cantrip here, range of 60 feet. Pick up some sort of ammunition and then just kind of fling it at them with telekinesis. Make a ranged spell attack. On a hit, it does D10 force damage. And then it obviously scales with cantrip scaling levels. I don't know why it necessarily needs to have the piece of object or whatever it is you're flinging at somebody, but I like it as it is as its own spell. So that is a cool spell. A lot of these are cool spells that I think wizards should get. All right, then we move into feats here. We have Wild Talent feats. Now, there is no base feat for Wild Talent. So it says prerequisite, can't have another Wild Talent feat. So if you choose Atmokinesis, once per turn when you cast a spell or hit with an attack roll that deals bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or psychic damage, you can turn that into lightning damage instead. You know, Shocking Grasp. You also always know Fog Cloud and can cast it with spell slots. When you cast these spells, they require no verbal or material components. Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma save is your spellcasting ability for them. When you reach level 3, you can always have the Gust of Wind spell prepared and cast it the same way. Okay. Biokinesis. When a spell you cast restores hit points, you can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to the hit point total. You can you can use this benefit rather a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. You also know Spare the Dying. You always have the Healing Word spell prepared, so Spare the Dying and Healing Word. You can cast it once without a spell slot, and blah blah blah. When you cast these spells, no verbal or material components. When you reach character level 3, you always learn Arcane Vigor. Arcane Vigor is a very good, I think, a lot of people don't realize it's one of the new spells that snuck in the 2024 Player's Handbook. It's for wizards and sorcerers. I believe maybe warlocks too. That lets you heal yourself with your hit dice during combat, which is pretty cool. Clairsentience. When you take the search action, you give yourself advantage on an ability check made as part of that action. You can benefit from this proficiency bonus times per long rest. Oh, you know, guidance. I was going to say this one seems pretty shitty, but you do get guidance out of it. You also have the Detect Good and Evil spell prepared. No verbal components and Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma is your spellcasting mod. And level 3, you get See Invisibility. Cryokinesis here. Once per turn when you cast a spell or hit with an attack roll that deals bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or psychic, you can turn it to cold. You know the Ray of Frost cantrip. You also have Armor of Agathis and Ice Knife prepared. We're all good there. Cryokinesis. Ray of Frost, Armor of Agathis. They don't get at higher levels. Oh, they just get Ice Knife out the gate? So if you look at a lot of these, right, they're going to give you a cantrip, they're going to give you a spell, and then you get another spell that's usually pretty good at level 3, right? We've got Shocking Grasp, Fog Cloud, Gust of Wind, Spare the Dying, Healing Word, Arcane Vigor, Guidance, Detect Evil and Good, See Invisibility. And this one, you just get Ray of Frost, Armor of Agathis, and Ice Knife right out the gate. No waiting till level 3. Maybe because there's not a good level 3 ice or cold damage spell, so they had to stick to level 1. And then lastly... Oh, no, not lastly. There's more. Empath. When you take the influence action, you can give yourself advantage on any ability check made as part of that. Use this benefit proficiency bonus times for a long rest. You know Charm Person and always have it prepared. Requires no verbal components. Level 3, you get Calm Emotions as well. Flesh Morpher. When you make a Dex, Acrobatics, or Sleight of Hand check, you can gain a bonus equal to your Intelligence modifier. Proficiency bonus times per long rest. You always have the Long Strider spell prepared, and then at level 3, you get Alter Self. Mind Whisperer. It's a magic action. Choose a creature within 120 feet of yourself. You form a telepathic connection with them. Seems better than the subclass options because it's already out to 120 feet. For 1 hour, you and the chosen creature can communicate telepathically with each other within 120 feet. To understand each other, you must know the same languages mentally. Okay? Once per short or long rest, you know the Mind Sliver cantrip and Dissonant Whispers, and that's it. Psi Trickster. When you make a Persuasion or Deception check, you can gain a bonus equal to your Intelligence modifier, proficiency bonus times per long rest. You always know Minor Illusion and can cast Disguise Self on yourself. Again, no real components. And last, nope, not last. Psi Kineticist. When you take the dash action and increase your speed by 10 feet until the start of your turn, you can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. You know the Telekinetic Fling cantrip from this document itself, and also have the Thunder Wave spell prepared. Okay. And last but not least here, Pyrokinesis. When you cast a spell that deals bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or psychic damage, you can change it over to fire. And then it says, you know, the Produce Flame cantrip, you know, the Burning Hand spell. They're really great. And then this one also at level 3, you learn Scorching Ray. So there's no real rhyme or reason to which ones get what spells other than potentially the limitations of the spell options in D&D 5e. But it's cool to see these, and technically anybody could take them. The only prerequisite is you don't have another wild talent feat. So yeah, somebody was throwing around, you know, the first one with a Tempest Domain Cleric. Why not? Right? I mean, changing all of these things to lightning damage, then being able to maximize it. I don't know. What are we thinking? What are we thinking about this Psion Unearthed Arcana? What's the vibes? What are people feeling about it? Because I'm not against it, but I'm not like, I gotta play this. You know what I mean? Sometimes I read an Unearthed Arcana, I'm like, oh shit, I can't wait to play this. I'm super pumped. I'm not like thrilled with any of these options, but I'm not upset. I think it's relatively balanced, if not a little bland in some areas. But if you really want to play a psychic character, now you at least have an option. And who knows what this means for the future. I'm hopeful that if this kind of stuff does well, people that were thrown out there, maybe they're gearing up for a player's handbook too. Maybe they are. But I hope they, you know, at least canvas the fans to get some ideas of what to look for. Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, it definitely is more balanced than the Mystics and Psionic classes of old. It's still trying to get its feet on like what it wants to do, because it's like trying to be a little bit of everything for everybody. And it doesn't have to be. That's the thing, right? It doesn't have to be the melee. It doesn't have to be the healer. It doesn't have to be the damage dealer. It can be, but you don't have to necessarily design around that. And then I feel like that's kind of what happened, is they wanted to make sure everybody had an option in some aspect. I like them, could use some minor tweaks. Yeah, I agree. I think it's not perfect. None of these are. They're all play tests, right? So ideally, what you'd like to do is take this, find a DM who will allow you to play it, and then run it for, you know, a few sessions to get a feel for it. But um, I don't know. I like I said, I generally like the whole thing, but I have, I had some nitpicks here and there, but still. Rebuild the base class to fit the warlock aesthetic and framework. That might work. It does feel like it has like the meta magic aspects from the sorcerer there. Some of the other abilities feel borrowed in some aspects, but also it might just be saturation. We've seen so many things like we're kind of like, oh, that looks like something else, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it is original, or it just kind of feels like it is. I don't know. Bit sad they took Psychic Scream off the wizard list. Yeah, that's kind of a weird choice, huh? Wizards can scream. I don't know. I do know that Wizards of the Coast reached out and sent me a document before I speak out of turn. Let me see if I can actually look at it before I tell you guys that I'm going to review this and then find out that I'm going to get in trouble if I do. See if it's publicly available. Hang on. Oh, creator FAQ page. Okay. Okay, it looks like it's publicly downloadable. Let's see, what's this creator FAQ? Oh, well, what do you know? Okay, that actually helps quite a bit about how to reference things. But more importantly, there's a guide to converting. A system reference document FSRD 5.1, 5.2.1. So if you have something that was made in 2014, whether under the OGL or under the SRD 5.1, you can go ahead and now this is your document to help you convert everything over to SRD 5.2.1. So it's little things here like D20 test is the new name. It's a blanket term for attack roll ability check saving throw. Heroic inspiration is the new replacement for inspiration. Tool proficiency. If you have proficiency with both the tool and the skill, you automatically have advantage in addition to adding your proficiency bonus. Attack action. It now specifies that it involves an attack with a weapon or an unarmed strike. It allows you to equip and unequip one weapon with each attack you make with the action. The ability to move between attacks during combat is now a function of the attack action rather than a general rule. The rules for hiding have been moved into the hide action. We have the influence action here for influencing monsters through ability checks. The magic action is now what you use to cast a spell, as opposed to the cast a spell action. Search action, study action, utilize action was previously the use an object action. So just a lot of this stuff that probably a lot of us know having just played through and read through stuff, but just kind of make it a little bit clearer for everybody. So, yeah. I hope this does seem useful, so I'm a fan of this. So nice of them to put that out. They didn't have to put this out there at all. They could have just let you kind of flounder and figure it out on your own. But releasing this is a good call. It makes a lot of sense, so I like it. I'll probably do a separate video on this at some point. So, yeah. I mean, that's it. We managed to get through the entire Scion in about an hour or so. We're a little bit over, but we did some other stuff in between there. So, I don't know. Am I gonna play a Scion? Well, that's you know what? That might be the most damning evidence, and this is what I'll pose to all of you. Are you interested in playing one? And by that, I don't mean like, are you like, oh, I'll give it a spin to see what it's like? I mean, no. Did like you read something and you're like, oh shit, I gotta play this? Because sometimes I get that way. And that's what I think, in my opinion, is the biggest stamp of approval any gamer could put on anything. So, like, if I'm reading through an Unearthed Arcana and I see a subclass and like it just clicks something about it, and I'm like, oh man, I love that. I can't wait to build a character to be able to play that subclass or that, combo, that build, whatever it is. If that is how you feel about the Scion, then that's awesome. I'm glad for you. I don't feel that way. Like, there's some cool things there, and I might see some interesting things in like sampling the spells or the feats, but nothing had me like, "Oh, I can't wait till I get it. When's my next new campaign gonna be so I can play the Scion?" Did not have that vibe. Um, I don't know. That's what I'll say. So, anyway. Mm, I'm curious. Yeah. If there's anything you guys want to, if you're watching later on YouTube, feel free to leave comments down below what you think about it. I immediately thought of multi-classing a Psi Warrior or a Psi Knife. I don't know if the class is me hooked as a whole. That's what I'm seeing is a lot of people are like, ooh, this is good for build craft for multi-classing. And honestly, in 2024, I'm kind of almost against multi-classing because I think a lot of the classes are pretty strong in the full 20. I haven't like officially outlawed that at my table, but I am becoming more of a fan of just following the class all the way through because of the adjustments the classes have made. Most of my thoughts, and I think a lot of your thoughts about the Scion, are that it is very good for multi-classing, which I feel like is a sentiment kind of saying that like nobody thinks the class is strong enough by itself to go all the way to 20. So they're like, I could multi-class to get some, juice out of it, but I like them could use minor tweaks. Yeah. I wish they took a bigger swing. I like the flesh-based subclass, especially with an artificer to make a mad scientist. Yeah. So again, I think a lot of people are way off topic. Share some of that whiskey. Listen, just come hang out, Jinxie. I'm not gonna bring it though. That'd be weird. I usually bring it. I usually bring a bottle to a convention when I go. Feel like when I stand up, everybody's now more like keenly aware of what's behind me. It's weird when I do like the standing desk aspect of it. I don't know what it is about it, but people become keenly more aware of what's around me. Um, I know, 23 days. Um, Still haven't fixed Psychic Lance. The UA is an offense to the game design. Am I gonna watch their video? Um, I guess I could. We could. I haven't watched their videos recently, just because I haven't really been. There hasn't been much to gain out of it. Let's go. Let's go look. Um, Still curious what a nerd immersion whiskey would be like. Man, that would be a wild collab, huh? Would love that. Find a distiller to help me do that. Oh, okay. The Scion video is 9 minutes. We'll watch it.
the full potential of their mind and is able to unleash all sorts of incredible effects, telepathy, telekinesis, but also far, far, far beyond that. This whole Unearthed Arcana just goes so far down the rabbit hole on what that fantasy is and how it feels every part as rich and exciting and heroic as a wizard, as a warlock, as a cleric, all of those things.
We have 4 full subclasses, a host of mechanics that go through the class as a whole, as well as some spells and
Getting new faces here.
some wild talent feats for people who want to dabble in psionic powers, but not want to go whole hog into the class.
Yeah.
So this is a really, really big UA article that we've been able to put together.
For those that do not know, what are psionics?
It's magic that's from the mind, right? They can cast a spell without the verbal or material components, with some caveats, obviously. When you do that, especially with the material part, you're essentially removing the spell casting focus. You don't need a rod, you don't need a wand. This lets the Psion basically use their brain as the focus.
To be clear, psionics are actually already present in 5th edition.
100%.
We actually have a couple
We know this from all the stuff Jeremy said.
of very fun, wonderful psionic classes in the 2024 Player's Handbook. We have the Psi Warrior, we've got the Soul Knife, we've got Aberrant Sorcery, and so this UA is not necessarily introducing something new. It's building on kind of this foundation that we've set for ourselves in the Player's Handbook, in the revised rules. The core mechanic of the Psion is the psionic dice mechanic, and this is something we've seen in both the Soul Knife and in the Psi Warrior. They give you either access to these bite-sized new psionic abilities, or they give you ways to creatively, psychically enhance what you already can do. And so we took kind of that principle and made that the foundational principle for this entire class.
In the base Psion
Yes.
class, we have subclasses.
Yes.
One of the first ones we have is the Metamorph.
Yes.
Tell me about the Metamorph. What is the flavor that's being captured here?
It's the mind over matter class. It is the idea that your mind is so powerful, that your psionic ability is so powerful that you can reshape flesh itself, that it is the ability to look at someone and telekinetically make their heart start beating again.
I just don't, it didn't really feel like, I don't know. I don't feel like that's like an archetype I was looking for, but maybe I'm not, I'm not everybody.
Stuff like that. That is kind of the vibe that we're going for with the Metamorph. It is the subclass that can morph and stretch their own limbs because their mind supersedes the limits and reality of their body.
And one of those things they can do is briefly transform their limbs into organic weapons. They can spring a blade from their forearm made of bone. They can clump and harden their flesh into a maul.
The next subclass we have is the Psi Warper, which I love. It's
Yes.
a teleporter. You
Yes.
are really controlling the battlefield.
Yes.
Really changing
Yeah.
space.
Being so psionically powerful and so mentally powerful that you can just change reality and change where things are positioned. It's like the chess master of the Psion subclasses. A lot of the abilities here focus on repositioning not only yourself, but your allies, and drawing power from being able to psychically warp space in that way.
Telekinetically pushing or pulling a creature has a lot
There's a fantasy around that, pushing and pulling for sure.
of flexibility because a creature, as we say in the rules in 2024, can willingly fail a save. So you can pull your buddy out of danger. You can push your barbarian further ahead to get closer to the monster. You can, as the Psi Warper, you can teleport that creature somewhere horizontal to you. And if there's a pit or a dip in the floor,
Yeah.
well, you can just teleport them over that.
Yeah, that's an important note. Nowhere did they say in any of the teleportation things they needed to be onto a surface just at horizontal to you. It did not say it needed to be on a surface that could support them, so you could drop them off a cliff or something like that.
Yeah.
So the Psi Warper is definitely going to be a subclass that rewards creative thinking.
So we have the Psi Kinetic, which is
Yes.
a beefy damage dealer.
Yes, this is our damage dealer, but they're also a little bit of our force fielder. The archetype here for the Psykinetic is the force field
Yeah.
person. It's the person who creates these force constructs that block things or blasts people away or moves
Invisible Woman.
people through force rather than this sort of warping of space.
The goal with the Psykinetic was to feel very offensive oriented in your abilities. And to emphasize that, you have an enhanced attack mode. Defense mode will come up, but also you're more incentivized to lean into that archetype of destructive telekinetic energy.
The final subclass in here is the Telepath.
The telepath is, along with the Psykinetic, the quintessential Psion, right? They have an expanded telepathy. They can talk to multiple creatures simultaneously through that.
Love utility for the party.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the issues with scions is that what is the difference between scions and manipulating the weave as a wizard sorcerer? Either way, it feels like the same with extra steps, narratively, not mechanically. Agreed?
And also an empowered defense mode.
Yes. So the psychokinetic is I am very strong on the offense.
Yeah.
The telepath is I'm very strong on the defense, and I can even expand that benefit to my party, to creatures in range of my telepathy.
And then we have all these wild talents.
Yes.
Which you worked on extensively. What is the purpose of these wild talents?
So wild talent feats are basically meant to be, hey, you want to taste the psionics, but you don't want to play a full scion or a full psionic subclass? Here you go.
Or you can just double down on
Or
everything.
you can double down and get really specific in how your psionics manifest. I think of the very classic archetype we have of the fire starter, the person who can just mentally start fires, and that was something that I personally loved, and I don't know what that says about me, but being able to sort of just like start those fires with your mind was such a cool sort of character trope and visual that we really wanted to bring, but it didn't quite fit in our subclass modeling. And so what we did was we took that sort of that trope and we made it into a feat that really anyone can take. So anyone can be a psionic arsonist. You can be a psionic arsonist. And it basically, looking at the pyrokinesis feat, which is our fire starter feat, it gives you the ability to just mentally change damage type into fire damage. So if you are playing as a scion and you want to really lean really hard into that fire starter archetype, you get a bunch of spells that deal psychic damage natively. With the pyrokinesis
Make
feat,
them
you
do
can
fire
change that psychic damage into fire damage and really lean heavy into that archetype. You also get a bunch of spells that also lean into the pyrokinetic archetype, and that help you cast and do even more fiery damage. And that's just one of many.
Yeah, one of many. Like some of these talents are like kind of trickster wild talents,
Yes.
where you can add your intelligence modifier to a persuasion or deception check, but then you also can disguise self.
Yep.
And so that's what I love about all these wild talents is you can have a little bit of psionic in you, or you can really sculpt the character in a very modular way. Because it could be ice powers, it could be lightning, it could be a little bit more of the body morphing stuff.
I think the issue is spells fundamentally are hard magic and very specific. The fantasy of a scion for me is more soft magic, or at least has less spellcasting that is very manipulatable and precise. I think I could definitely see that. Listening to this, it might be cool if there was a subclass, if this was a subclass for multiple classes. Wizard, psionics, sorcerer. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
There's a ton of these that kind of covers like everything you could
we
wish
have
for.
ones that are almost like grandchildren of the scion subclasses. So if you want a taste of like the metamorph, but not in a full going full scion, you can have, there's little wild talents that give you a little bit of taste of that sort of psionic life manipulation or the flesh manipulation. If you want a little bit of that sort of telekinetic power that you get in the psykinetic, but you don't want to do the full subclass, we have the psykineticist wild talent feat for you to try out.
I know everyone's going to be extremely excited for this Unearthed Arcana. I know I am. As always, the best way that you can provide feedback, we always appreciate YouTube comments and comments on the forums and social media, but the best way to leave your feedback is test the playtest material and then leave your feedback in the survey, and that way we can adapt.
The problem is the time frame, in my opinion. We have until June 3rd. We have a week. Oh, sorry, no. Feedback survey will be available in a week. And then, I don't know, what is it, like 2 weeks maybe? 2 weeks, I think. Maybe tops to fill out the survey. It might be less than that. It's hard for your average player to just get a game going with a brand new character with brand new mechanics that someone wants to run to then be able to play test it, Yeah, I generally hate that about the UA process. We get no time to experiment. Yeah, I agree. Should be like a 3 to 4 week window. Yeah. It's, honestly, I haven't even really been paying attention, but they have been basically releasing monthly again. Because they were doing that for a long time, and then they stopped, and now it seems like we're back on a monthly grind for Unearthed Arcana. Like, it seems like a shock to me because I was so used to the infrequency of it. And then now that it's happening basically monthly, I got to remember to like get my mind right that we're going to be getting this stuff every month. Is there much anti-Scion stuff in D&D? Not seeing much reason not to be a Scion. No, there's not. I don't think there's anything reason not to. It's just up to it's just preference really at this point. Um yeah, basically only lets people that run game shops test it. Yeah, because they have the opportunity to do that. Yeah, agreed. And that's not like I would say the people who run game shop games is probably a small minority of the player base. So, I agree. What comment was made earlier. I do think we shouldn't have done a full Scion. I mean, I'm fine with it, like in the grand scheme. Um, they've just been so hesitant to release other classes in 5e that it feels almost forced, even though it might not be. It just kind of feels like it. Um, you might have just done better, like somebody had suggested, to just continue down the path of psionic subclasses. So, a psionic barbarian subclass, psionic bard subclass, psionic cleric subclass, and go just down the list and give every class a psionic subclass. So that way everybody has their little taste of psionics and you don't have to worry about doing the full psionic class. If you wanted to go that route. But yeah, I much prefer psions as subclasses. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like it's been about 10 years post Mystic almost, and now for 5e revised, and let's test the water again. That's very much what I mean. It's that and that we have new blood in the design seat, or a whole change up. Maybe somebody was like chomping at the bit to do the Scion for years, and Crawford and everybody else were just like, nope. And they've just been waiting, and then they left, and they're like, I'm getting in there now and shoot my shot. Which, good for them. Maybe we'll get some other cool stuff. There were some awesome Unearthed Arcana that were left that didn't go anywhere. I'd love to get some of those back. New blood that maybe doesn't know the mistakes of the past, potentially. But you know what? They opened the door again for psionics. The door for psionics outside of subclasses was pretty much altogether closed at this point. Maybe they'll have the opportunity. Maybe them opening the door will do something like maybe opening up a revised ranger option. Who knows? But I won't like Scion these nuts. Good. That's a good one. Well, I think that's about a capstone as we're gonna get. Which of these subclasses do I find the most appealing to play? Maybe the healing one or the teleporting one, just to be different. Yeah. Revised Ranger Returns would be a wild Unearthed Arcana. I'd love that, honestly. But anyway, we've been at this for about an hour and a half. I think I'm going to call it quits because I am a little bit on the sleepy side, as you might or may not have seen. But what capstone would I give it? Well, I talked about possibly giving you the freebie psionic energy dice. Maybe giving you could like what would feel good as the capstone, right? Maybe X amount of uses of free psionic energy dice. Maybe a way to regenerate psionic energy dice, like if you roll some number, on the psionic energy die, it comes back. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something that would get you more access to them because that's like a large portion of your class. And I think you only have 12 or something at level 20. Let's go see exactly how many you have at level 20. You have 12 Psionic energy dice. So some means of like getting around that, I think, would be the way to do it. Mostly disappointed it's another full caster. I don't think they'll ever make a mind flayer species. They would have, and they did back in the day. I don't see them doing it now. I think that's why it's not appealing. Other classes can do a lot of this stuff already. Yeah, fair. So, anyway, I've got a giveaway going on right now for some Fandelver stuff. If you're interested in that, I have an updated Ranger class. I will release it at some point. I promise. I just got so many irons in the fire right now. It's wild. So anyway, I got some really funny merch over there on my merch store. Some of it's pinned here if you're watching on YouTube. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. And if, who knows, I might go get a nap and then come back and stream some Baldur's Gate. Some of you guys were asking me to continue my playthrough, and I meant to do it this weekend, but I just got distracted with a bunch of other stuff. So, if not, I'll be back. I don't think we're playing Fandelver tomorrow, so I might be streaming some Baldur's Gate tomorrow or something. We'll see. So, anyway, thank you all for coming and watching. See you all next time.